But Sun Hoon has reached his limit with all the whining and drags poor Chunok away from the fray, who is wailing like a baby. On the flip side, a rank 4 player launches a flurry of menacing magic orbs at his rival. Our hero dodges them effortlessly and delivers a well-deserved punch straight to Blondie's gut. The boy floats away, but can't help but snicker, slyly turning the huntsman into his target. Our guy glances over his shoulder and sees those charged magical orbs, making him wonder if they are the same orbs Seung Yun fired at him before. Just then, those magic orbs rain down like a storm of lightning, aimed directly at Han. As the rank 4 guy gets his hopes up, thinking he's finally got it right, his eyes widen in disbelief when Han appears unbothered and activates the red shield, revealing the new skill. Shield of Retribution. The shield absorbs the damage, and our hero asks Sudipwin, "What's wrong? We just got started." Actually, our bro is about to deliver a classic Uno reverse card moment. Seung Yun is left in utter shock as he sees his spell blocked so easily. Our guy chases that sneaky coward who scurries away, but Han crazily slices through the rocks just to hunt him down. Meanwhile, as this madness unfolds, rank 2 player Chunok asks Sun Hun if he knows about player Han Seung Yun. Kim Han admits he doesn't recognize Han from the hunter rankings, while Chunok speculates that if he's never heard of Sun Yun, then it means he wasn't even a hunter in the real world. The rank 2 player wonders if it's possible for an ordinary person to gain such power. Sun thinks it's practically impossible for anyone other than top-ranked hunters like them, but what's even more astonishing to him is that this isn't even the full extent of Seung Yun's capabilities. The rank 1 player ponders the chance that player Han Seung Yun might actually be his equal. This revelation leaves Chunok stunned, given how highly Brohoon rates Han. Nevertheless, Chunok points out that Han is actually 2 tiers below him on the leaderboard. That's when Seong Han clarifies that it's all just speculation, but there's a chance that Sun Yun was simply unlucky with his teammates during the group trials, which means this guy's talent might have been grossly underestimated. In contrast, our formidable main character finds Sudipinsis hiding in a corner and drives the dagger through his arm. The blonde guy lets out a scream as blood gushes down his arm, while Sun Hun, who has been keeping a close eye on their fight, is amazed that Sun Yun took out his opponent without killing him and made it look so easy. 2. Sudaprincess quickly finds himself on the receiving end as he faces the consequences of his misleading morals. He pleads for mercy, trying to manipulate our guy into believing they can't finish this trial without him. His lies seem convincing again as he attempts to sway his teammates, claiming that this tower won't allow them to proceed if one person is absent. Sun Yun decides to heed his 2 teammates' advice, but they tell him to choose as he sees fit. At that moment, Sunjin Bastard seizes the opportunity and aims his sword at Han, but our guy dodges it as if he can predict the strike, making him lose his cool. Han charges forward to stab with his dagger but slices through Seung Jun's magical illusion instead. The blonde guy retreats and activates his unique skill, Last Surprise, which boosts all his stats by 10. The rank 4 player immediately regrets it, wishing he had saved one last trick, and goes berserk, calling Han trash and swearing to kill him. The magic spell conjures chains that attempt to break Han's shield of retribution. At that moment, our guy unleashes the skill, Grace of the Wind, boosting everyone's speed by 40. The chains wreak havoc, crashing down around him. Our guy remains untouched and asserts that it would be safer to tackle this trial with just the 3 of them instead of a jerk like him. The only thing Han wants to hear from Sudipes is exactly that, and upon hearing it, that lying bastard lashes out at him. The scene crackles with tension as Sun Yun releases all the built-up damage through the Shield of Retribution, igniting a blinding flash that signifies the end for Kim Seung-jun. This is the fate a liar like him truly deserves. Afterward, our guy lays claim to his skill. The vampire counts Old Tailcoat. Well, he definitely needed that one, since his cloak was burnt to a crisp. It's a special tailcoat that conjures a blood-red protective barrier using either stamina or the user's blood. Additionally, our hero also acquires the Sanguine Demon Sword, its blade shimmering with a bloody aura. It helps the flow of demonic chi through the blood meridians. Han expresses his gratitude to Seung-jun for the sword, and without missing a beat, Kim and Chunok leap down to join him. Chunok can't stop raving about how amazing our guy was back there, while Seung-hun figures it's all over now. Soon after, they're told to gear up for the upcoming trial. As the pre-trial wraps up, the trio sets off, and while they move forward, they pass a gigantic horseman statue. Oh. Chun shares his wild musings, hoping that the statue doesn't suddenly come to life, or anything. But Keeman points out that it could happen since it's the Tower of Trials, not some quirky night at the museum scenario. At that moment, our guy gives the statue a dubious glance and senses a creeping, ominous vibe. Later, they reach the trial site glowing with blue crystals, where they spot 3 eerie statues held by chains. They find themselves face to face with a headless armor statue, believing it to be the abyss-stricken lord himself. That's just when the 10th trial kicks off, and the system chimes in that the abyssal guards are about to spawn. The players must prevent the resurrection of the abyss-stricken lord. Suddenly, the ground trembles, and the abyssal guards awaken, breaking free from their chains and encircling the trio. Sunun is ready for a solid warm-up, while our guy advises them to aim for the guards' heads. Han details his reasoning that they need to stop the guards from reaching the lord with the head they're lugging on their backs. Since this seems straightforward, Player 1 suggests they each take on one guard, and just like that, the 3 strongest hunters take on the statue guards. The guards thunder forward with their heavy strides and massive swords. Sun Yun intends to take down his guard in one swift move using his sword aura, swinging the blade towards his opponent. However, the guard sends our guy staggering back with its swing. Our guy narrows his eyes at the abyssal guard, realizing they aren't going down lightly. He then ponders how the others are faring. Kim Song-han finds himself battling a guard wielding a weapon strikingly similar to his own. This guy is also getting smashed by the statue's brute strength. As the guard charges toward the abyss lord, a loud explosion is heard, and rank 1 player bursts from the rubble, wielding his magic weapon. Kim Sung deduces that all these guards are boss-level monsters and cautions his teammates to stay sharp. Oh. Chunok chimes in through the hat and teases Kim for getting caught by the guard just moments ago. Chunok settles that hat atop his head, refusing to take it off as it ruins his style. This guy looks serious for once, and now that the guard has made him sport this ridiculous headwear, he's not going down without a fight. The second-ranked dude conjures a legendary magic bow and arrow. He fires 3 arrows that explode like showering bombs, but the guard dodges them and charges toward him. Oh. Chunok speculates that rushing a long-range caster is a classic tactic, at least if he were just your average mage. Observing the first 2 players in action, Han Seung Yun realizes they fight like weak challengers, igniting his desire to battle with even greater ferocity. Finally, our guy can focus solely on his own fight. With that, Han ducks under the guard's sword swing that crashes into the ground. Rocks scatter into the air, and our guy performs a classic spin to kick those rocks straight at the guard. Sun Yun activates the Wind Grace skill, boosting their speed by 50%, but oddly enough, he races past the guard, discovering he stepped on the guard's shadow. He employs the skill Silent Shadow Steps to enhance attack speed for blade weapons by 10%. Like a bolt, Sunungi Yun leaps and slashes his dagger charged with electric aura, ripping through the guard's mask. Meanwhile, player Kimun Han unleashes lightning strikes to shatter the guard's mask, and Ochun astonishingly penetrates his weapon, cleaving the guard's head in 2. Unexpectedly, those 3 statues retreat, and Sun Hun infers it's because their lord's head was smashed to smithereens. Won't be reviving it anytime soon. Seizing the moment, they dash towards the statues. As they chase after those guards, a sudden rumbling sound grabs our guy's attention. Turns out those sly abyssal guards are heading towards the statue from the horse entrance. To everyone's shock, that statue springs to life, leaping with the guards to reach the abyss lord. That horse guard flips the script when it leaps off its steed and slaps the lord's crown right on his head. While Sun Hun bolts as fast as his legs can carry him, our hero arrives just a second too late. In a nail-biting moment, he reveals his trump card and channels every ounce of his might. Han yanks that dagger with tremendous force, smashing it against the mask and shattering it into countless fragments. Chun praises the impressive shot, while the horse knight looks on in disbelief, donning the fallen crown. Infuriated, the horse knight wears the crown, and its next move leaves everyone completely stunned. The horse knight slashes its own throat, prompting the players to scramble to avert this catastrophe. Unfortunately, they arrive too late, as the knight tears its own head off and repositions it on the lord's shoulders. As the hunters charge in for an attack, a fierce wave of energy slam-bangs into them, and the conditions are met for the Abyss Lord to rise again. RG stands speechless, realizing their new trial aim is to defeat this newly resurrected Abyss-laden Lord. The system nullifies all incoming damage with the Shield of Invulnerability. They quickly discover that this boss can only be harmed by challengers boasting higher average stats than its own. Han Seung Yun ponders the formidable power this boss monster wields. Meanwhile, the Abyss Lord conjures a sword and radiates an ominous aura while gripping it tightly. The Lord's sword slams into the ground, creating a crack so fierce it feels like it could tear anyone apart. All 3 of them veer away to dodge the lethal force. Our hero is left utterly dumbfounded, eager to uncover the secrets of this overpowering ability. The inability to even scratch the beast has Han questioning everything. How on earth are they going to take it down? At that moment, the boss monster inches closer to Sun Yun. As our guy desperately tries to save his skin, the Lord swings his sword, barely missing him. Yet somehow, our boy escapes with only a few scrapes. Han curses himself for hesitating. A glance at the abyssal guards sparks a light bulb in his mind. Shortly after, Kim and Chunuk sprint over to him, checking if he's okay. The top-ranking guy explains they must figure out how to defeat the boss monster first, while planning to eliminate the guards without delay. Out of nowhere, Han makes a request, asking his teammates to keep the boss occupied for a bit, but Seong-han argues it's pointless since the boss is likely untouchable. So naturally, it's wiser to focus on getting rid of the guards before anything else. Our guy then drops the bombshell. He has a plan to take that monstrosity down for good. Kim studies Sun Yun's resolute gaze, believing in his conviction. Still, he warns that they can't hold off the boss for long, advising Han to act quickly. Without wasting another moment, Kim and Chunuk dash off to distract the boss monster. Now, our hero is left to confront the guards barreling towards him. Meanwhile, Sunung-hun unleashes his lightning strike ability, but it barely phases the Abyss Lord. The boss monster spirals into madness as it taps into its power, lordly grace, compelling them to kneel before it and remain still until granted permission to move. It seems like the two top players are in serious trouble, stuck bowing to the Lord until it allows them to get back up. The Lord brings down its sword, and the power reverberates ominously. This terrifying energy seethes with fury, heading straight for Chunuk and Kim, who are utterly defenseless. Kim activates magic resistance to partially shake off the movement constraints, positioning himself in front of Chunuk to act as a shield. The number one player bears the impact as the energy strikes him, causing him to cough blood and collapse into Chunuk's embrace. Neither player stands a chance against the overwhelming might of the Lord. Chunuk hoists his near-death friend, while the Lord targets them with its sword, ready to obliterate them. Tension grips the air, and just as the sword is about to crush them, our guy swoops in right on cue and saves his teammates with the shield of Retribution. Han apologizes for the wait, absorbing the souls of the guards he just defeated. All his stats surge permanently upward as he unleashes the pent-up damage via the shield of Retribution. Our hero activates the sword aura skill, causing his weapon to shimmer with incredible power. Then, he vaults into action, slashing his sword with abandon, and its aura strikes the boss monster, cracking it wide open. The boss monster lets out a furious roar and unleashes his lordly authority, preventing anyone from moving without his signal. Our protagonist succumbs to this overwhelming power as he bows low. He clenches his jaw in fury and activates two powerful skills, Juggernaut and Magic Resistance. These abilities completely nullify any restrictions on his movements. Miraculously, our hero breaks free from the Lord's grip, causing three of his skills, Juggernaut, Magic Circulation, and Magic Circulation increase to advance to a higher level. The Lord retaliates, swinging his sword, while our guy flashes a crazed grin, deflecting the attack with his shield. Even he recognizes the genuine threat he faces this time, yet he can't help but smile. Deep down, Han knows the reason. He's determined to claim victory, and just like that, our hero boldly dives into danger, savoring the thrill of growing stronger. It's a primal urge burning fiercely within him. Meanwhile, Chunuk chats with brother Kim, asking if he's tuning in to watch Sun Yun fight, as that guy might actually be the real deal. Kim Seong-hun, the tippy-top ranker, feels strange spectating the action for once. Nevertheless, they should definitely applaud Han. Kim acknowledges that our guy has truly clawed his way to the top of the combat rankings. The atmosphere is electric, as the Lord's lethal force threatens to burst from the shield of Retribution. But this is all part of Han's cunning strategy. He waits until the shield of Retribution builds up maximum damage. Our guy risks it all, aiming to compress the shield blast's range for maximum devastation. That's when he unleashes all the amassed damage using his trusty shield. Han Seung Yun flashes a devilish grin as he activates the skill, Grace of the Wind, cranking up his speed by 70% and achieving a layered status effect. With the skill fully stacked, he enhances his speed for blade weapons by an additional 10%, thanks to Wild Sword Flurry. Like a true beast, our hero swings his sword, cleanly severing the boss monster's head in a heartbeat. At last, Han obliterates the abyss-tainted Lord, the object of the trial. It seems the admin, the Lord of Iron and Blood, is mesmerized as she observes her player's potential, believing it to be limitless. We learn that typical players striving to climb the tower prepare with extreme caution, trying to erase even the slightest hint of danger, painstakingly inching up through the levels. In stark contrast, player Han Seung Yun embodies extraordinary talent, a rarity in any realm. It's almost as though he's driven by some otherworldly will to grow stronger. And that's exactly what's happening. According to the Lord of Iron and Blood, as time passes and Han scales greater heights, more administrators will definitely become interested in him. Thus, she strives to strengthen her connection with Sun Yun, ensuring her rivals can't outmatch her, all to chase her long-held ambitions. That burning, yearning for success mirrors our main character's own. Han Seung Yun triumphs over the Dark Monarch, thus conquering the 10th floor of the Tower of Trials. As a reward for his success, a potion to boost skill proficiency appears in his inventory. Alongside this, our guy earns 60,000 points, 1,000 SP, plus an extra 1,000 SP for completing the challenge. Since Seung Yun was the standout contributor in the special task, he collects a bounty of SP points for that achievement. Our protagonist beams with joy at these extra bonuses. Chun is utterly astonished, perplexed about how Seung Yun pulled this off. And our guy shares that he had a skill he successfully leveraged. Luck was on his side. Sun Hun gestures towards Seung Yun, admitting he's been surprised by him in countless ways, and decides to discuss it further later. He sends our guy a friend request and tends to his wounds. Challenger Kim Seung-hoon and Oh Chun-suk both send our guy friend requests. And with that, they go their separate ways. With over 1,000 participants having passed the 10th trial, the system expansion is set to commence, adding the category of dimensional travel to the store, allowing Han Seung Yun the ability to venture into other dimensions. Argue speculates that the system implies he can travel to places like Ares or Muram through dimensional travel. Although he believes that's likely a death sentence, the system informs him that the administrator's observation and interference domains have now extended into the Earth dimension. Argue suspects that the system suggests he can travel to locations such as Ares or Muram through dimensional travel, but he feels it's a reckless idea. The system alerts him that an administrator's observation and interference domains have expanded to encompass Earth's dimension. This means he can now chat with an administrator in the lobby and venture into the administrator's realm to forge extra contracts. Of course, yet, the system cautions him that only one extra contract can be made, and once created, it will be locked in. However, he can end the additional contract at any moment. Our hero ponders this for a bit before opting to organize the treasures he collected from the 10th floor. First up, there's a potion that boosts skill proficiency. Once downed, it can enhance skill proficiency by 20%. As our hero drinks the potion, a question pops up asking which skill he wants to boost. Without hesitation, he picks Wind's Grace. The system acknowledges his selection, boosting Wind's Grace proficiency by 20%, bringing it to 100% and advancing its rank. Shortly after, Seung Yun absorbs the soul of the Dark Monarch, permanently boosting his stats: strength, agility, stamina, magical prowess, and durability. He also gains a fantastic new skill, mana management. Just then, Han Seung Yun is interrupted by administrators White Crane, Swordmaster, and Iron-Blooded Monarch, simultaneously inviting him to their realms. This predicament feels more like a double date to him. Seung Yun decides to accept the invitation and travels to the Iron and Blood realm, where he meets the confident admin, the Lord of Iron and Blood. Chuckling because she knew he'd choose her, she reveals that she won a bet thanks to him, and our protagonist realizes the simultaneous invites were all because of that bet. Noticing her attire, Seung asks if she isn't cold. He feels compelled to inquire about the mana management skill he just acquired. Curious if she has any tips, the admin assures him it's an excellent skill and shares a brief explanation before they enter her abode. She instructs him to gather all his magical energy as intensely as possible, using this new mana management skill. As Seung Yun does so, his mana circuit reacts strongly to the activation of mana management, causing an immense surge of mana to fill his body, and he puts it to the test, creating powerful winds that unexpectedly whisk away a piece of delicate fabric covering the administrator, much to Han Seung Yun's astonishment. While they share a meal, the white-haired woman expresses her disbelief at how devious Seung Yun appears. Flustered, our guy tries to defend himself, but she bursts into laughter, suggesting he activate his magic skills one by one with mana management whenever he has time. The more he understands the skill, the higher level his magic skills will achieve. Han is puzzled about why she summoned him and questions whether she knows about the system expanding when he entered the 11th floor lobby, prompting the admin to reveal she can come here without the tower. Moreover, she adds, that's not the reason the interference domain was introduced. Rather, it's so that admins can better mentor their challengers. When our guy fails to grasp her meaning, the Iron-Blooded Monarch decides to demonstrate by activating the interference domain, thus gifting the challenger a new authority, the Iron-Blooded Sword, which is now imbued in our hero's soul. Feeling a bit overwhelmed, our guy wonders if such authorities can be handed out that easily. The admin firmly declines, leaving Han baffled. The white-haired monarch feels she's done enough for the tower, so she can afford this, but Han can't make sense of why she's helping and choosing him. At that moment, the admin admits she sees potential in him, explaining that administrators are rewarded for nurturing their challengers. But it's not altruistic, they're merely investing in challengers out of their own genuine desire. Seung Yun ponders what a genuine desire means, but just as they are about to dive deeper, the White Crane Swordmaster summons him to his territory again, multiple times, no less. The Lord of Iron and Blood, noticing the other's impatience, wraps up the conversation and bids our hero farewell. Seung Yun accepts the invite, transitioning to the administrator's realm, a lush forest. He surveys the surroundings, feeling it's the ideal spot for his training. Since he was intrigued about the training method the iron-blooded monarch had mentioned, he decides it's time to give it a whirl. Utilizing mana management, his skill proficiency in 3 laceration bumps up by 8%. Instant acceleration surges and jumps up to rank B. Additionally, the proficiency of the counter-shield skill rises by 7% thanks to mana management. With this, Han tries to channel Sword Chi too, but it doesn't spark through mana management, leaving him scratching his head in confusion as it feels off. The system nudges him about the White Crane Swordmaster, who's eagerly awaiting his arrival, prompting him to proceed onward. As he strides ahead, Han Seung Yun figures the admin must be an old-timer because of the nickname he's got. Upon reaching his destination, he finds a stunning girl with white hair waiting for him, introducing herself as the admin, White Crane, Swordmaster. He's left in a state of wonder. White Crane senses something and asks if there's an issue, but Han reassures her that he's simply amazed to see the admin he's corresponded with via messages. White Crane gestures for him to take a seat as they chat, and Seung Yun feels revitalized sitting down, finally grasping why she prefers this spot over a chair. The admin reveals she keeps an eye on him from here, ever since he faced off against Baek Sunun hack to the death on the 9th floor. Seung Yun inquires why she'd give her authority to someone she barely knows, considering it a waste. However, the lovely girl passionately disagrees, feeling he needs to comprehend his true potential. Moreover, she shares that the great elder Baek never managed to master lightning sword chi, even though he was once a formidable swordsman in Muram, losing some of his strength upon entering the tower. Hence, she believes that besting a challenger like him is an outstanding feat. Additionally, she reveals that she's the one tied to Baek by contract, so he shouldn't feel the need to deny it. This leaves Han Seung Yun dumbfounded as he suspects she might hold a grudge against him. But the White Crane Swordmaster interrupts his racing thoughts, urging him to lighten up, mentioning he was simply an easy mark for points. The administrator informs him she's formed contracts with several challengers before, yet never invited anyone here, except for Seung Yun. With that, she straightforwardly proposes he enter an additional contract with her. He's curious about the perks he might get if he follows her lead. She explains that, if he agrees, she'll make him her disciple, the White Crane Swordmaster. When Seung Yun presses for more details, she clarifies that an administrator can appoint only one disciple in their lifetime. Being labeled as an administrator's disciple in the tower signifies a special bond formed by contract. Also, disciples have the privilege to acquire all the admin's authorities. On hearing this, Han Seung Yun is taken aback, recognizing how significant a disciple contract is. He thinks of the iron-blooded monarch who never even detailed this, despite him being her disciple. Seung Yun mentions that the additional contract can be terminated any time, and queries why she would pursue this once-in-a-lifetime contract when it seems adverse for her. The administrator shares that she's doing this to achieve her heartfelt wish. Similar to the iron-blooded monarch, she's in need of the sharpest sword, one that won't bend or dull. She believes Han Seung Yun possesses the potential to become that sharpest sword. He, however, is puzzled by the term heartfelt wish, remembering the iron-blooded monarch's words, and can't help but ask the administrator to clarify what a heartfelt wish truly entails. White Crane Swordmaster goes on to explain, stating that an administrator's heartfelt wish stems from past regrets tied to their memories, and at the same time, it's a power bestowed by the tower to the admins, similar to the Tower of Trials. It's a challenge meant only for challengers bonded with admins. Once it's fulfilled, the challenger gets a reward. She informs him that if her heartfelt wish comes to fruition, Han Seung Yun will have the ability to alter the past, leaving him utterly stunned. He's in disbelief, wondering if something so outrageous could even be possible. Nonetheless, the administrator believes he will discover the truth behind her words as he scales the tower. Seung Yun feels satisfied with the response, and while he's momentarily hesitant, he decides to ask another question. Our guy inquires how high he must climb to fulfill her heartfelt wish, and the White Crane Swordmaster bashfully reveals it's the lobby of the tallest floor in the Tower of Trials. Finally, the contract is sealed, and the administrator beams with happiness over the brilliant choice our guy made, assuring him he won't have any regrets. Han Seung Yun now stands recognized as the true disciple of the administrator White Crane Swordmaster, which boosts his authority and skills in the Muram dimension by 10%. Additionally, thanks to the disciple's benefit, his mana has surged by 3. With that, our guy officially becomes the disciple of 2 administrators, and he feels he can't pass up this chance to gain strength rapidly. However, he's jolted from his thoughts when the lovely administrator asks if he's heard anything from the iron-blooded monarch regarding someone seeking him. Seung Yun shakes his head, causing the admin to wince in frustration as she ponders what Iron Blood is thinking, since it appears she fully trusts our guy. The White Crane Swordmaster asserts her trust in him, but she has something important to disclose. She warns that sharing this info will use up all of Han Seung Yun's question vouchers and asks him if that's alright. Seung Yun doesn't mind, having been hoarding them without a real purpose. Challenger Han spends all his question vouchers, and the administrator explains that, in the Muram dimension, a formidable power known as the Muram Alliance exists. The person our guy defeated on the 9th floor, Bake, held a prestigious role as a High Elder within the Muram Alliance. Consequently, there's someone in the Muram dimension actively searching for our guy. This revelation leaves our hero in disbelief, as he really doesn't want a Muram Alliance member coming after him to kill him, but the administrator reassures him that rather than that, the Muram Alliance is currently in disarray due to the power struggle for the vacant High Elder position, as our guy wonders who might want him dead. The enchanting white-haired girl reveals it's the sword dragon from the Namong family in Tokyo, Shinjuku, the Blue Heaven Sword Dragon. Namong Hook. He is famous among martial arts champions who have thrived in the Muram dimension for ages and is hailed as a genius. Although his primary motive for seeking our guy is revenge, the truth is, he's simply curious. The administrator warns Seung Yun that she can't predict when it will happen, but if he faces Namong Hook, he must be ready to stake his life. Following that, Seung Yun finds himself in the lobby of the 11th floor, mentally summarizing the shocking news that a Muram maniac is after him. Our guy buys the authority wings of Steel C++ and Returnstone F+, deciding to train intensely before encountering Hak Namong, his bloodthirsty foe. Seung Yun teleports back to Earth using a Returnstone and is baffled by the mountain of messages and missed calls from Hyon. Wondering if something has gone awry, our guy activates the Wings of Steel and heads towards the Hunter Association, where he overhears people gossiping about a recent incident in Japan. When Han Seung Yun arrives, onlookers are left stunned, speculating if he really just flew in. Inside the building, Han and her senior greet our guy, apologizing for the hassle caused inside the tower. After exchanging pleasantries, Seung Yun inquires about the urgent call and what's amiss. Han informs him of a significant event that transpired in Japan, explaining that she was worried he might rush there alone upon hearing the news, which is why she brought him here. Instead of giving a direct explanation, the senior opts to show Seung Yun the body cam footage, reasoning that the situation is dire. This footage shows a Japanese hunter, shared with them by Japan, with the scene set in Shinjuku, Tokyo. The senior explains that the Japanese Hunter Association detected a strong signal from a gate and dispatched a team of 7 A-rank hunters to investigate. Sadly, the individual who emerged from the gate slaughtered 6 of the A-rank hunters within mere seconds, although it's thought he might be an otherworldly challenger invading Earth's realm. Seung Yun suggests that all hunters should rally to support Japan, but the elder cuts in, pointing out that in such an exceptional scenario, nearly every nation is doing their best to safeguard their hunters. As a result, they're restricting their hunter resources from heading to Japan. The situation is no different for their own country, which means hunters won't be deployed to assist Japan. Following this, the elder reveals body cam footage of the lone survivor from the 7, showcasing the Blue Heaven Sword Dragon, Nam Gong Huk, declaring to the world that he has returned, seeking vengeance under Sun and Hawk's guidance. Hearing that name, a chill runs through Han Seung Yun, as he hadn't anticipated crossing paths with him so soon. Observing his serious demeanor, Li Hyun reassures him that going isn't mandatory. She then proposes they grab a bite first. Since it's been a while since they last caught up, Han Seung Yun tries to voice his thoughts, but the worried black-haired girl glances at him anxiously. He ultimately declares that following Japan's request, he will make his way to Shinjuku in Tokyo. Li Hyun loses her temper and questions why he continues to act recklessly without considering how it affects others. Even a little. Gently, our guy pats her head, assuring her that this is a matter he must settle himself. The scene shifts to Hayak's younger years, where young Hayak brandishes a sword while the surrounding kids gaze at him with trepidation, believing a light spar is too much. Bike appears, lauding Hayak as he witnesses his sword chi at merely 13 years old, thinking he's accomplished more than in his own youth. The old man pats young Hayak's head and cautions him that martial arts aren't meant for harming others but are a path towards self-transcendence. He should never inflict harm without justification. The Tower of Trials determines a challenger from the Muram dimension. Over time, Nam Gong Huk grows increasingly powerful while the crowds cheer for him. Yet, he remains unsatisfied. His ambitions aren't fulfilled by merely ascending the tower. He feels remorse towards his grandfather as he employs dimensional invasion tickets, claiming the thrill of annihilating humans is his true joy. Hu finds no pleasure in terminating evil people anymore, and though roaming the Murm to end lives is prohibited, he thinks someone named Han Seung Yun might bring excitement to his life. Smiling deviously, Han Seung Yun arrives in Japan, where a lady guides him into the room, leading him onward. Once inside, our guy spots Cha-suk and Sun-hoon already there, both pleased to reunite after their time on the 10th floor. He was anticipating their arrival, having heard from the association, and wonders if this is everyone assembled to respond to Japan's call for support. Sun Hun mentions that an additional challenger from America will be arriving shortly. Our guy calculates in his mind that the mysterious monster that appeared in Shinjuku could potentially defeat them all. Thus, a strong challenger from America would be a welcome addition. Turns out, the American challenger is Catherine. Han Seung Yun goes momentarily speechless at her presence, while the lady wonders if the two have previously crossed paths. Han Seung Yun admits they met briefly in the tower, but Catherine sulks, wishing it hadn't happened this way. Our guy wonders if she preferred a different kind of encounter, and Catherine argues she wished to meet him under more normal circumstances, leading Sun Yun to ponder that if they never met normally before, then how could they expect a normal meeting now? As they bicker, Sun Huna perceives it as a couple's spat, but our guy firmly rejects that notion, using the word never, much to Catherine's frustration. The lady who guided Sun Yun earlier reveals herself as the president of the Hunter Association in Japan. Arichika leaves our guy stunned as he learns she's the president, considering she personally came to greet him at the airport. Thus, Sun Seung Yun thought she was merely a regular employee. He suspects this emphasizes Japan's desperation, but he gets interrupted when Ari mentions that no further support for Japan is anticipated. The situation has turned out far worse than she initially assumed. She feels they are tightening hunter support. Chunuk is utterly astounded as he remarks that even if they're limiting their hunters, to have only 4 applicants out of the whole world is absolutely absurd. Catherine also finds the scenario to be more chaotic than she presumed. Arya Chika states that no nation is actively willing to assist Japan. With her body shaking, she bows deeply before everyone, overwhelmed with gratitude for those who stood by her when all others had turned away. Han Seung Yun swiftly pulls her upright, believing it's not the moment for bowing. This action leaves Catherine impressed, beginning to think that our guy, though tough on the outside, has a soft side, but he quickly follows up by stating that rather than bowing, the president should boost their reward right away. Sun Yun demands that she double the promised reward, pledging his full support to tackle this issue. The red-haired girl, hearing this, reconsiders her earlier thoughts about him. Meanwhile, Han Seung Yun wears a cocky grin since he didn't come here to be a hero. His true motive was for the reward and the growth from taking down Nam Gong Hook. Ari gathers her composure, convinced that the entity causing chaos in Shinjuku is an extraordinary monster. As they risk their lives, she assures them that the reward will indeed be doubled. She points to Catherine Bennett, claiming they have a real chance of victory because the red-haired challenger has the power to turn the battle's tide. One of Catherine's remarkable abilities is called fire suppression. If a stronger enemy touches the flame that triggers this skill, all their stats will drop by 10, and a portion of their skills will be sealed off. By utilizing this ability, victory is possible if the enemy makes contact with it. Han Seung Yun realizes that they need to create a scenario where Miss Catherine can unleash her fire suppression. News reports state that China's top-tier hunter Zhang, sent to aid in Shinjuku, has encountered the otherworldly challenger, and it seems they're having a chat. Nam Gong Hook inquires if he's Han, to which the guy replies, he's Zhang from China. Before their dialogue can continue, Jamun delivers a punch right to Hyak's face, and the martial arts enthusiast recognizes that his opponent is also skilled in martial arts. The fight kicks off as Han Seung Yun and the others observe from the plane, grumbling about Zhang acting solo. Sun Yun asks Catherine if she can land safely, even if they fall from the sky. Confused, she wonders what he means. Our guy proposes a clever idea, noting that the red-haired girl has a skill that nullifies damage from falls. Sun Seung Yun thinks if this plan works out, they'll deal serious damage to Nam Gong Hook in one shot. At that moment, he instructs Catherine to activate her ability. Without further explanation, Han Seung Yun apologizes in advance, grabs Catherine, and they leap from the plane using wings of steel. Chunuk is thrilled to see that our guy hasn't changed a bit. Together, they jump out of the plane. Catherine argues mid-air with Seung Yun, but our guy tunes her out. Pleased that the Chinese hunter is drawing Nam Gong Hook's focus, he tells the red-haired girl to use her ability when she sees an opening. With that, he decides to go in first. Meanwhile, Jamun and Hook are locked in combat as Nam Gong wonders about the martial arts style and pushes the Chinese hunter back with a strong force. Just as Hook thinks he can catch his breath, something hits him with tremendous might. Suddenly, Han Seung Yun stands right before him. Nam Gong Hook shoots a sharp gaze at our guy, demanding to know who he is. Sun Yun smirks at Hook, announcing that he had been searching for him. Now that he's here, Hook doesn't even recognize him. Conversely, young Master Hook's hands swell with pain while our guy makes a grand entrance, admitting that diving from the sky at full speed wasn't the brightest idea. As Hyak inquires about Han's identity, our guy activates Ashen Blood to lessen the pain he's feeling by 40%. Now ready. Han is taken aback that the guy doesn't recognize him after all his efforts. That's when Hyuk realizes he's face to face with the notorious person he's sought after. Our guy introduces himself and charges his sword with sword aura skill. Hai clenches his fists, eager to finally take him on. However, the young master soon realizes Han is merely a faker, wielding a false sword aura. The young master smashes his hands together, breaking the lumps on his palms. However, the young master realizes that Han is nothing more than a con artist wielding a fake sword aura. The young master claps his hands together, shattering the calluses on his palms. His hands are bleeding, and Hyuk angrily declares that his frustration knows no limits. Yet, our hero couldn't care less as he charges toward his foe. Completely unarmed, Han chooses to make the first move, but Hyuk instantly conjures his sword. The swordplay kicks off with their blades clashing, and our guy narrowly dodges a deadly strike that could have spelled doom for him. Han then resorts to using ashen blood to lessen the damage, temporarily hiding behind his shield. He thought Hyuk would suffer considerable damage from his airborne attack, but that hope was dashed. Our hero feels his strength wane as another counterattack shatters his Retribution skill. At this rate, he won't benefit from the shield's reflection effect at all. Meanwhile, Seung Yun observes the true might of a sword aura, as Hyuk's sword radiates power. On the flip side, the Swordmaster taunts Han for leaning on self-healing techniques, labeling him a coward for using cheap tricks from the tower. Our hero then unleashes an electric sword aura towards Hyuk, but it seems to have no effect on him at all, as if it's just smoke and mirrors. Suddenly, the young master finds himself under siege as Kim Seung-hun and Oh Chusoke ambush him, though he skillfully evades their onslaught. While Hyuk is distracted, Catherine appears from behind and unleashes her Curse of Flames, but to her shock, her powers fail to activate, and the young master leaps onto a street lamp, sword raised to the sky. The ground trembles as his sword radiates a potent aura, and Hyuk makes it clear that he won't allow worthless nuisances to ruin his enjoyment. We all know that after countless life or death situations, the hunters can instinctively sense one truth: there's no defense against this onslaught. Indeed, it's Hyuk's sword aura, which is heinously powerful enough to destroy anything that dares to cross its path. The young master goes completely berserk, launching a lethal attack as the three of them scramble for their lives, the energy enveloping the horizon. The scene flashes back to Han's memory, where the admin White Crane urges Han Seung Yun to accept her modest teachings as a token of gratitude, holding his hand while injecting a simple burst of magic energy. This is the way to genuinely connect with energy, instead of confining it to just a single injection. As the energy flows into Han, White Crane asks him if he can feel a difference. The first time our hero sensed an influx of magic energy, but the second time, it felt as if the admin had taken residence within him. White Crane beams at him and suggests he channel the energy into his sword, but she cautions him to practice it only after leaving the facility to avoid being penalized for gaining an unfair advantage from an administrator. Fast forward to the present. Hyuk's surging power reverberates across the sky, while Argai emerges as the first self-taught user of sword aura through pure enlightenment in the Earth dimension. The Tower of Trials celebrates Han for his incredible feat. He achieves the unity of sword and body. With that, Seung Yun's sword aura finally comes to completion. Han inquires if everyone is all right, and Catherine reassures him that they're all safe thanks to his efforts. Deep down, Catherine reflects on how Han countered Hook's sword arc in a split second, coming to the realization that these two fighters are leagues above their level. The young master chuckles maliciously, expecting nothing less from Seung Yun, saying that he nearly let him down. He thinks that the more effort invested in a sandcastle, the sweeter it is to topple it. He swings his sword, and as their blades clash, our hero takes a nasty hit. Han speculates that many of the dimensional invaders he's faced thus far have been somewhat arrogant, but this Japanese fighter is completely unhinged, and it sends him into a spiral. Our hero takes a step back, urging Catherine and the others to find a safer place. Han struggles to focus, constantly worrying about their safety as he did before, while Catherine refuses to back down. Sunung-hun agrees with him. It's tough to accept, but Seung Yun is undeniably correct. Deep down, the top player feels a pang of shame, knowing he's of little utility in yet another trial. Nevertheless, Kim informs Han that they will initiate Operation Blaze at the first available moment. Following that, Kim, Catherine, and Chu take their leave. Meanwhile, Hyuk and Seung Yun indulge themselves in their full-strength battle. Their energies blaze across the entire city, and explosive sounds echo as the three of them witness the intensity. Chu gets why Han wanted them to escape, as Bennett breathes a sigh of relief that our boy can hold his own against that behemoth. The masked player senses otherwise. It's subtle, but the enemy has decoded Seung Yun's moves, and if it keeps up, our buddy will be cut down. On the flip side, our hero is going against all odds. He wished that mastering the sword aura would bring him closer to matching that brute. Han recalls what the White Crane shared about Hak Namong's swordsmanship being top-notch, while his own is merely average. This creates a tremendous gap in their abilities. But our guy thinks this isn't merely a skill problem. Honestly, Hawk's strength is just frighteningly overwhelming, almost supernatural. Soon enough, our guy plummets to the ground after overexerting himself healing. As Hyuk approaches to ask if he's thrown in the towel, Han knows he won't be able to keep fighting like this. Yet, just when it seems dire, luck strikes as Catherine hurls him a potion. He tries to gulp it down, but a wild kick interrupts him. Honestly, our dude is a bit of a fool for thinking he could down a potion in front of a stronger rival. Instead, that jerk hack swallows the potion greedily. Catherine watches in shock, while Chun calls that Japanese guy a total fool, lamenting he didn't poison it instead. Afterward, Namgong smirks, believing it's human nature to cling to hope, thinking Sun Yun feels the same way. That potion restores a fair amount of Hyak's stamina. He mocks humans for deluding themselves with false hopes of victory if they simply give their all and escape unharmed. Yet, when optimism is shattered and every shred of hope fades into despair, that's when this guy plans to revel in their broken spirits. At that moment, Hyuk turns more monstrous, an ominous glint flashing in his eyes. The fight rages on, causing widespread destruction with relentless force. They crash to the ground when Hyak's eyes lock on Han's, a wave of dissatisfaction washing over him. It feels like there's still a glimmer of hope in Seung Yun's gaze. Frustration wells up inside him, and Hyuk assaults him with even greater ferocity, sending our boy tumbling to the ground, trembling. Before long, Namong strides over, thinking Han barely has the strength to move. But what infuriates him is that Han's gaze still pierces through him. This cynical feeling drives Hyuk to swipe his sword across Han's eyes, splattering blood everywhere. Our guy cries out in agony, desperately needing stamina to heal, but he's hit his limit. Nevertheless, he intends to muster the last ounce of strength he can squeeze out. Maybe then he could land one final blow. The Chinese dude leans in for yet another strike. With Han's injured eyes as a massive hurdle, there's little chance he could take down his foe in one strike. Our guy is tormented by his helplessness, pondering what his next move could be. In the meantime, Han's friends rush to his aid, but our guy yells for them to stay back, knowing that joining the fight would lead to their slaughter in mere moments. That's when the wicked sword hunter figures out why Han's face wears that upsetting glimmer of hope. It was his little bug pals. Regardless, Catherine dives in with her flames, but she can't keep pace with Hyuk's unfathomable speed and gets slashed from behind. The masked player calls out to Catherine, battling Hyuk with lightning power. But the unescapable occurs, as Namong strikes Kim with brutal force, crashing him into the ground hard enough to crack it. Blood oozes from Han's eyes as the young master yanks Catherine by her hair, aiming his sword menacingly at her. The monstrous guy lightly brushes the sword against her neck, and as she screams in torment, he queries Se-Yun if he can smell the scent of his companion's roasting flesh. Our guy angrily cries for Hyuk to let her go, calling him a twisted freak. The young master's face lights up with glee at the sight of Han's horrified expression. This is exactly what he was hoping for. In an instant, Chunuk seizes the moment. Stealthily striking Hyuk with his icy power, he manages to bind Hyuk's hand and his sword together and hurries away with Catherine. He quickly does his best to heal her while dashing off. Moments later, that wicked villain breaks out of his icy prison, unleashing fury upon that pesky metal nuisance. Just then, Hyuk leaps onto the scene in a single bound. Meanwhile, Chunuk wraps the girl in a shimmering energy orb to send her as far away as he can. It's the best he can manage for now. As the energy orb bounces off, Chunuk frantically searches for a hiding spot, while Hawk seizes his head in frustration. Hawk swings his sword at him, but the freezing power absorbs the hit. Watching his allies get pummeled, guilt crashes over Han like a tidal wave. He reflects that even after 7 years, nothing has shifted. He believed he had grown stronger, believing his ascent was limitless, but he remains helpless to defend anyone. As the torment festers within him, a swarm of rats suddenly rushes towards him. Those rats, it turns out, were fleeing for a reason: survival. Mistaking the chaos of the brawl as a cataclysm, thousands of rats stream into the open, all scrambling for their lives. Miraculously, thanks to this surge of rats, our hero finally discovers the perfect opportunity to unleash his final attack. That's when Seung Yun's mind springs into action, and after exterminating the horde of rats, he absorbs their departed souls to replenish his strength. Meanwhile, the sword-hunting fiend chops off one of Seung Hun's arms and holds it aloft. At that moment, our hero tells Hyuk he has crossed a line, branding him a repugnant Miram freak. The sword hunter chuckles, oblivious to the looming danger, and swings Kim's severed arm around, relishing Han's desperate attempts to fight back. In an instant, a devastating fiery punch crashes into Hyuk's gut. The flame's power seals Hayak's sword aura for 10 minutes and weakens his stats. This attacker turns out to be Ziwen Pang, the legendary hero of China, who reveals that this scoundrel, Hyuk, failed to end his life. It seems that Ziwen has transferred Catherine's flames and has come to strike at Hayak. Now that his role in the fray is over, he takes his leave. Namong is severely injured and vulnerable since the Curse of Flames has sealed his sword aura. Suddenly, floating swords surround the area, signaling a forced duel. In that moment, a dueling zone is established within a 100-foot radius, using the innate trait of Forced Duel. All players except Hayak and Seung Yun are barred from entering this zone, even without his sword aura. Hayak grins maniacally since he can harness his fist aura. His cocky demeanor makes him confident that Seung Yun, robbed of his sight, stands no chance against him. While it seems like doom awaits our main character, a surprising twist unfolds. In that critical instant, our hero can't quite recall when he gained the third eye skill, enabling him to sense attacks from beyond his regular vision. He had thought that was the full extent of the third eye, but it has proven much more. Han can vividly discern the boundary surrounding the area, noticing every single rock and pebble within the dueling zone. Ironically, he can see clearer now than when he had his sight. Realization hits him, he hasn't fully tapped into the potential of the third eye skill. It truly lives up to its name. Just then, the third eye manifests on Han's forehead, granting him a vision that exceeds his wildest dreams. Thus, our hero uncovers the true essence of the third eye skill, and it ranks up from D to B. After battling for his life, relying solely on his senses, his instinct skill also advances to rank B. With this enhancement, his senses sharpen even more than before. Player Han emerges victorious in the clash against the Swordmaster, elevating his Demon Slayer style skill. Additionally, his body undergoes miraculous healing due to the extensive injuries he's endured. Now that the tides have turned, Hayak's confidence falters as our hero dodges his attack. In that very moment, Seung Yun's eyes expand wide, and a dark hellborn glow seeps through them as he finally can confront Hayak Namong on equal footing in his diminished state. Suddenly, the situation takes a wild turn as Muramasa falters against our hero. Bewildered by the deceptive tactics at play, Hayak senses his movements sharpening with each maneuver, as does the sharpness of his blade. That's because our hero activates the skill Silent Shadow, allowing him to blend into the shadows. Han gives it his all, maximizing his speed skills, including Grace of the Wind and Instant Acceleration. He moves at the speed of light, enhancing his blade speed with the Wild Sword Flurry skill. Our hero launches into a fierce sword attack, but Namong skillfully dodges every attack. In that moment, Han reflects that he's squeezing every bit of his strength, yet this fight is still far from a fair one. He feels like he can't keep this up much longer. Plus, his energy reserves are running low since Hayak's stat debuffs will wear off in 10 minutes. Simply put, Seung Yun has to finish this while Muramasa is still trapped by the Flame's curse. Therefore, only one thing can break this deadlock: a wild card. Our hero hoists the sword and hurls it with immense power. Namong grins like a fiend and sidesteps that sword with ease. He calls Han's move foolish, a desperate gamble born from panic. The Swordmaster's arrogance gets the better of him as he moves in to throw a fiery punch, and a freezing glare shoots through Han's eyes as he declares, "Iron Blood Sword." Just then, the sword appears magically, and, at Han's command, plunges straight into Hayak. The guy is caught off guard by this unexpected turn, and blood spills from his mouth. With the sword embedded within him, Hyuk realizes Seung Yun has struck at his core, so he must act quickly to fully recover. 10 minutes seem to go by fast. The Flame's curse lifts, and the forced duel ends as well. The barrier around the duel begins to fade, while the Swordmaster laments his distraction by this trivial charade. He yanks the sword free and tells Han they should finish this battle another day. Hayak holds a red stone as a gateway appears, leaving everyone in shock. The Chinese guy, Ziwen, figures out he's attempting to return to the Merm dimension. In that moment, a strong sense of foreboding washes over them all. If they don't eliminate Hyuk Namong for good, he will one day return to Earth and unleash an even greater disaster. They can't allow him to escape. So Chunok, Catherine, Kim, and Ziwen charge at the Swordmaster. The command, "Get away," echoes in Hayak's ears, shattering his pride. A blaze erupts from the blade, shaking the whole Shinjuku district and flooding the horizon with light. Buildings collapse, and the inferno pierces through Seung Yun's shield of vengeance. That force sears one of our guy's arms. It withers like dried leaves in the wind. Catherine cries as she sees his injured arm, shouting out, but Han urges her to calm down, reminding her that the enemy still stands before them. At that moment, the Swordmaster taunts Han, clarifying that, from the very first encounter, he could have ended him in a heartbeat if he wanted to, daring him to continue. These words infuriate our guy, but he can't retort. Muramasa turns away and tells Han not to worry, as he will be back for him soon. Once the guy departs, Seung Yun collapses as everyone rushes to his side. In the Murm dimension, the servants welcome their young master back home, but Hyuk is in terrible shape as blood spills from his mouth. He seethes with rage, determined to drown Han Seung Yun in despair, even if it means sacrificing everything. The scene shifts to a hospital near Tokyo, where President Eri hurries to Han, who is finally awake, his body wrapped in bandages due to his serious injuries. Seeing Han's arm, the president sighs, acknowledging the sacrifices he's made and expressing gratitude to our hero. Suddenly, our fella activates the skill, Ash and Blood, and in an instant, his arm regenerates, leaving Ares speechless. After that, our guy seeks out the others and goes to check on Catherine first. Han slides open the curtains, only to find Catherine sitting there in her undies. He gets greeted with a slap. Outside, Oh-chun is hopping along with crutches when he spots our guy in the hall, sporting a slap mark on his face. Our guy explains he was in Catherine's room, where she seemed full of spirit. Nonetheless, Han asks about Kim Seung-hun since he hasn't seen him around. Chunok replies that he did see him earlier that morning, adding that he has a lot on his mind. He elaborates that Seung-hun Hyung lost his right arm in their last battle. Later on the hospital roof, Han finds Kim, who greets the sword demon. Our guy is puzzled by that nickname as Sun Hoon glances at his arm, which is now completely healed. The masked man asks Sun Yun if he used a skill to heal, and he's impressed by our guy's amazing powers. The masked fellow admits that Han always finds a way to astonish him and shows off his own arm, which is partially healed, saying he was not as fortunate. Just then, Han apologizes and blames himself. He mutters that things wouldn't have spiraled out of control like this if he had been tougher. Sun Hun, however, counters that there's no need for apologies since he possesses a skill that lets him operate normally. Han lays it all out, confessing he's been tearing his way up the tower like a maniac, driven by the desire to grow stronger. He admits he was totally consumed, disregarding everything else in his path. He morphed into a soulless beast. Well, Kim sees nothing wrong with igniting his ambition through the hunger for more power. Still, he firmly believes that the strong must also stand up for the weak. At least, this is the principle that fuels his battles. Han appears to have absorbed a lot from this mission, learning a crucial lesson he must remember. Hearing this eases Kim's mind, knowing that someone as powerful as Han isn't a bloodthirsty fiend. Yet, to be fair, when they initially met in the tower, Seung-hun had his doubts about Han's motives. That's when Kim pulls off his mask to take a puff from his cigarette, as our guy steals a glance at his face. His eyes widen in disbelief. Our boy finally realizes who he is, while Kim chuckles, apologizing for not introducing himself sooner. Following that, all the hunters who returned from the mission get snapped for photos, and Han takes part in an interview. Later, he finds Catherine and returns a choker she misplaced. All the hunters don their tower attire and step out. Since our boy is the last one lingering, he wraps himself in his red tailcoat and feels a wave of change. He beams and wonders if the association guys had spruced it up during repairs. Truth be told, all his gear is in immaculate condition. But that's the least they could do after the hunters stopped a national catastrophe. He flops onto the bed, reflecting on how the past 3 days with the return stone zipped by in no time. Han never aimed for fame and stumbled across an image from the fight that had already gone viral. He figures the Japanese association must have been capturing them from a helicopter and checks out the comments giving him the title, Sword Demon. He finally understands why Sun Hun referred to him that way earlier. Still, our guy is taken aback, having no clue that the man behind that mask was the Lightning Lord. It's then revealed that the Lightning Lord towered above everyone else. Even among the 30 elite S-hunters in Korea, he demolished gate after gate at a pace no S-grade hunter could keep up with. He was revered as a hero in Korea. The scene then shifts to Seung Yun's flashback, where the Lightning Lord, Kim Ong-hun, hands him a card, stating this is a call for recruitment. Kim tells our boy to reach out whenever he wants. Fast forward to the present. Han's time on Earth is drawing to a close, and he decides to postpone that recruitment call for now since he needs to focus on training and living up to the Sword Demon title. With that, our boy heads back to the Tower of Trials. He steps into the lobby on the 11th floor and contemplates the lessons he's gathered from his fight with Hyuk. Han realizes he lacks sufficient stamina, even though his Ash and Blood skill heals most wounds better than any other. The Reen effect doesn't kick in when his stamina is low. That's why our guy figures it's time to find a new way to boost his stamina. Seung Yun continues browsing the skill store, but nothing catches his eye. Just then, he finds a method to stop overthinking and decides to snag everything he can. With that, our guy purchases every skill he deems useful. He picks up Auto Stamina Reen, which recovers a total of 0.07 stamina every 180 seconds. He also grabs the Lunar and Solar Synthesis skill, which boosts base stamina by 100% when exposed to light. Argue then activates Skill Synthesis, merging the two compatible skills, Solar and Lunar Synthesis. This produces a C-grade skill, Photosynthesis, that enhances base stamina by 200% and lets users absorb magic energy from light sources. Combining the perks of both skills, Han is thrilled with this new skill and speculates that if he blends the vampire skill Call of Blood with photosynthesis, he'll strike gold. However, to his dismay, the new skill Blood Covenant created didn't enhance his abilities and completely nullified the effects of photosynthesis. Sun Yun deduces this skill was a flop. In that case, he snatches up another vampire skill and attempts to merge the failed Blood Covenant and Call of Blood once more. After they combine, a new B-grade skill, Blood Prophet, is birthed, enabling him to siphon health, stamina. Our hero is pretty intrigued by the idea of manipulating blood and wonders what it really means, so he decides to cut his hand to explore. As his blood starts to flow, he discovers that Han can literally control it. The droplets move around at his will, morphing into any shape he desires, even pushing them out without slicing himself open. It's totally impressive, and Sun Yun figures he'll save this skill for when he needs a lot of blood. He's sure that his blood manipulation skill will be super useful. With that, he dives into maximizing his time. He enhances the Eyes of Truth through the synthesis menu, crafting an A-grade skill called Fireworm's Eye, granting Han the fiery power of the Fireworm and the ability to see hidden things. Plus, this nifty skill lets him gather intel on objects, and he can tell if someone's lying with his dragon sight. Han activates this skill and examines all the gear he's wearing, like the vampiric count's fancy tailcoat and those speedy boots. When he checks out the Sanguine Demon Sword, he learns that its true abilities can only be unleashed by a user who has reached the Firebrand level, utilizing the unique effect of Blood Aura to the max. Suddenly, it hits him that Firebrand is the level of power that once allowed Hyuknamong to wipe out the entire Shinjuku district. He figures that only someone with that level of power can unlock the sword's full potential. Initially, Han thought this sword was just average, but now he's curious about unlocking its complete power. Not long after, Han enters the trial on the 11th floor, a mental test. This time, his goal is to reach the 7th gate within 7 days, with a reward of an antique mirror of testament and a death penalty for failure. Just as our guy steps onto the floor, he meets Priest Yoan, who welcomes him at the Temple of Testaments. The priest shares with player Han Seung Yun that he'll take on the trials set by the God of Testaments. These trials will continue until he takes his last breath. Since a simple adventurer like him dared to face these divine testaments, he'll need to face the repercussions of his choices. Han takes on the challenge and asks how to complete it. The priest questions Han, questioning if he doesn't know the trial rules designed by the 7 gods of Ares. In that moment, it dawns on our guy that if he's in the Ares dimension, this is where the Black Knight from his 5 trials originated. Yoan is surprised that such a clueless adventurer like him made it to this dimension. However, he explains how the trial works. The examination takes place in the Temple of Testaments, focusing on the testament of the body, mind, and faith. After player Han endures the first testament of the body, he moves on to the ultimate yet toughest challenge, the testament of the mind. Now, regarding the gates, each trial chamber contains a high priest whom he must either persuade or eliminate to progress further. Simply put, Han's got to do whatever it takes to get through these gates. The priest smirks, believing he's shared enough, leaving the rest for Seung Yun to figure out. With that, the first testament kicks off, with Priest Yohan becoming our guy's opponent. He swiftly lunges at our hero, and there's no doubt his strength is terrifying. Initially, Han halts the punch with his palm, and soon, they're locked in a clash. Feeling the grip, Han realizes this big dude is equal to a challenger with pioneer status in the hard level. Immediately, Sun Yun activates his Blood Prophet skill, discreetly pushing blood from his finger. He shapes it into a bullet and fires it straight into his opponent's forehead, instantly ending him. Just like that, our guy takes down the priest and marvels at how insanely powerful the Blood Prophet skill is. Anyway, Han shows gratitude to the deceased for the insights and absorbs his spirit. The admin, priest of the 7 gods, is stunned by Han's outrageous actions, calling him an interesting player while nodding at his ruthlessness. Judging by the admin names, our guy figures that the gods of this trial must be pretty riled up. Meanwhile, the admins, White Crane and Lord of Iron and Blood, are let down seeing Han jump into the trial without any heads up. Our hero claims he has no way to get in touch with them. After that, he digs through the priest's garments and uncovers an intriguing item. While the Ares admins watch, dumbfounded by his greed, the Godslayer nods, signaling that they comprehend his antics. To decipher the information about the mirror item, our hero activates the Fireworm's Eye and realizes it's the priest's divine mirror. He swiftly accesses the true details of the item through the dragon eye, uncovering that the divine mirror harbors the holy energy of the God of Testament, which can even guide the user in shaping their own destiny. Han is utterly perplexed as he contemplates how to determine his fate, surmising this item might at least provide a one-time protective shield. Soon, our guy strolls toward the next gate, hoping it's also the Testament of Body. As he swings open the gate, he comes face to face with a beautiful girl, Priest, who's taken aback by his swift arrival at the chamber. She suspects that Priest Yan must be unfit to judge anymore. The girl introduces herself as Jane, a priest of the Second Testament. Unexpectedly, she grabs a chair and hurls it at him, and Han is not impressed by such a hostile greeting. Our hero assumes it's another Testament of the Body, and Jane concurs as she charges at him fiercely. She swings her sword toward him, but Han dodges it with impressive agility. While evading, Argy notices that Jane's sword aura is strikingly similar to the one he used to wield. Han energizes his weapon, unleashing 2 sword auras, and strikes Jane's arm. She crashes against the wall, stunned to realize she's facing an aura user. The priest finds it hard to believe that a mere adventurer could command such an aura. Our guy retorts that he wields the aura just like she does, questioning why it surprises her. That's when Jane explains that their holy energy is gifted to them by the God of Testaments, a blessing that grants them immense power. Naturally, she's taken aback that a guy like Han, stripped of holy energy, could harness a sword aura so formidable. As Jane mends her arm with holy energy, Han Seung Yun suspects it should have been a catastrophic injury. Nevertheless, the priest leaps once more, and our hero senses that this holy energy is about to be quite troublesome. Their swords clash as Han muses in the midst of the action. He mutters that the first priest told him he could pass the gate without needing to kill her, but he asks Jane if there's any chance she could be convinced to let him through. Jane smirks, thinking his knack for chatter would need to be charismatic enough to impress a god. Ignoring her, Han Seung Yun inquires about the number of gates in the Testament of Body, but his attitude annoys Jane, who gives him a seething glare. Seeing him overflowing with arrogance, she bluntly tells Han to reserve his cliché questions until after the battle is wrapped up. Our guy stands firmly and activates instant acceleration. In the blink of an eye, he yanks the priest's sword from her grasp and slams her into the wall. He seizes her hands and cockily declares, "The battle is over." True to his word, our guy wants to learn more about the Testament process. The priest nervously queries Han if he plans to take advantage of her. While the admins eagerly anticipate his response, some scowl at him, and Seung Yun makes it clear he's not about to do anything of the sort. Jane chuckles, feeling lucky. The Lord of Iron and Blood heartily agrees with her, while the White Crane exhales in relief. Our guy doubts that anyone capable of such acts could have made it this far, and Jane incredulously asks if he truly believes his words. If he does, she calls him exceptionally naive for a hunter. Regardless, Han insists that she'll spill all the details as promised. Being obedient, Jane reveals that there are 2 remaining goods in the Testament of Body, and the Testament of Faith will commence at the 5th gate, concluding at the 6th gate. This implies that the Testament of Mind occurs at the 7th gate. Before he reaches the 7th gate, Jane strongly advises our hero to rethink this trial altogether. She discloses that no soul has ever breached the 7th gate of the temple. All who attempt to pass through either go insane or bleed out from every bodily opening. Han Seung Yun taps into his dragon eye skill and realizes she's not fibbing about this. Once the priest wraps up her speech, Jane delivers her final words and thanks Han for an epic battle. In that moment, our hero poses one last question, curious if there's any way to pass through this gate without taking her down. However, Jane is convinced that such a feat is beyond his current skill set, making our guy wonder if she's actually scared of her own fate. Jane grins like a lunatic, showing no fear, and believes that death itself is a sign that brings them closer to the divine. Just like that, Han ends her life on the spot because dragging it out would be nothing short of cruel. He then absorbs Jane's spirit, convincing himself he did what was necessary. Still, he can't shake off the feeling of being a lowlife. With that, Han steps into another chamber and encounters Retribution, a sword meant to be wielded by the Divine of Testaments. Retribution then puts Han's warrior skills to the test and raises his sword to unleash a powerful aura. A shimmering fire aura bursts forth from the sword, leaving our boy wide-eyed. It's not as stable as it should be, but Seung Yun realizes that he's facing a Firebrand user. Our boy feels anxious about confronting a Firebrand user so soon. Just 3 gates in. This means Han will indeed need to risk it all. He charges at his opponent, and as their swords collide, Retribution drifts back. In that moment, Han senses something is off. The old man's stats are lower than his. Not only that, the force of his strikes feels weaker in comparison, but still, the old man keeps breaking through his sword aura. Our boy remembers witnessing Hyuk Namong use Firebrand, naturally assuming it outclassed a sword aura. He ponders whether the maniac Hyok was simply exceptionally strong. Maybe, just maybe, the Firebrand skill isn't merely an upgraded version of Sword Aura. To put his theory to the test, our boy clashes swords with his opponent and realizes that it's only the Sword Aura that shatters over time. Meanwhile, the swordsman steps forward, explaining to Han that his aura will never break his sword. Oddly enough, the old man reveals that the only way to break his blade is to control what's invisible. That's when Han pieces it together. This swordsman is a Firebrand user. Despite being weaker than him, it's like a kid who's terrible at studying, suddenly outscoring the rest. A wicked grin spreads across Han's face. He dismisses the old man's chatter, focusing solely on demolishing that dude's sword. Han Seung Yun pours every ounce of strength into breaking that sword. But the swordsman insists that only those who command the unseen can wield a sword capable of slicing through everything in existence. It is then that an aura of incredible strength is conjured. Han keeps slashing at his opponent when, suddenly, his sword radiates a fiercer aura. In that very instant, our hero's sword breaks through Rillian's sword aura and lands a blow on his face. He then finally grasps the difference between sword aura and Firebrand sword flames. He realizes that activating a sword flame requires an intense mental focus, sheer determination, willpower. In other words, Priest Rillian coughs up blood but smiles, thrilled to see Seung Yun surpassing his sword flame. Oddly, the man looks genuinely happy for our hero wielding the true Firebrand and praises him. Our guy is baffled, wondering why the old man is so pleased. Strangely enough, the priest is more concerned about someone else's growth than his own demise. The priest trembles, overwhelmed with joy, at the thought of our guy learning it so swiftly. With that, our guy proves himself as a warrior, and in a flash, Han brutally decapitates the priest with a single swipe. He then absorbs the lifeless priest's soul, and the skill of his innate trait, Necromancy, maxes out at 100%. In that instant, the Necromancy skill upgrades to Grade B, and he's excited to discover the new abilities he's unlocked. This time, he acquires a secondary effect skill that allows the user to pull a power from a target when absorbing the soul of a more formidable foe. Our guy hits the jackpot because each time Necromancy levels up, it's never a letdown. Even more impressive is how strong it already is at only Grade B. He eagerly anticipates the perks he will gain when he reaches Grade A or S. After that, Han opens his status window and notices he's nearing 3-digit stats already. Our guy recalls his training days when he believed such a feat was only for prodigies. Meanwhile, Han Seung Yun absorbs all the deceased priest's souls, including Jane, Johan, and Rasilian. Plus, thanks to his newly acquired skill, he snatches the ability Indomitable Will right from Rillian's essence. This ability symbolizes those who face the impossible until the very end and refuse to yield, boosting the user's physical stats and concentration when up against a stronger foe. Han strides into the next chamber, spotting an angel hovering who presumes that Priest Brailian has finally kicked the bucket. Quite the surprise, isn't it? That's when our hero hesitates for a moment, and the admin Godslayer reminds Han to tread carefully from here on out. The admin White Crane tells him that the priest wields a genuine sword aura, not a fake one, and the Lord of Iron and Blood is taken aback by the priest's powerful aura, coming from the God of Testaments. Out of nowhere, our guy swings his sword without thinking, sending the priest crashing to the ground. Interpreting that Han isn't much of a chatterbox, the priest glares coldly before diving straight into the Fourth Testament. He reveals himself to be Karen, a disciple aspirant dedicated to the God of Testaments. Our guy receives a heads up that he's up against an opponent who outmatches him and activates the skill Indomitable Will. At that moment, Han senses Kern's aura, significantly stronger than any priest he's battled before. Kern conjures a broken mirror that radiates a dazzling aura. As our guy dodges that lightning bolt, Chiron's weapon's aura reflects and aims directly for Seung Yun. Han is frozen in disbelief and quickly triggers the Dragon Eye, allowing him to counter with his sword aura. Our guy finds that beam of light quite bothersome as it keeps bouncing off the mirrors, and he feels the urge to strike at the priest before those beams can overwhelm him. Just as they're about to clash, Chiron flaps his wings, unleashing a relentless force that sends our guy reeling and tumbling. Han manages to survive by blocking those beams with his sword as it collides with the glass. Our boy is astounded to encounter another sword wielder. Then he sees Karen take flight, intrigued by his strategic advantage. Those wings, Han anticipates that Chiron will use those beams to launch long-range attacks. Even if he dodges the first onslaught, they'll be amplified by mirror walls, catching him off guard. But as Han closes the gap, the priest uses the gust from his wings to throw off Han's balance, countering his sword flame. It sounds tricky, but despite everything, our guy is impressed, since beams and sword flames make quite the fierce combination. Han realizes that he can't just recklessly smash those mirrors. If the shards from the broken mirror break the beams into countless tiny beams, There's no way he could avoid every single one simultaneously. The admins start to panic, questioning the challenge level of this trial, while the other admin, Sable Demon, is eager to witness player Han's downfall. Reading this, our guy feels a hint of anger, while the admins rooting for Han eagerly anticipate his next move. Han breathes a sigh of relief that at least his supporters don't seem overly anxious. Meanwhile, Priest Karen reappears with another mirror, insisting he won't hold back this time, wondering if Seung Yun can withstand it. In that instant, the disciple goes wild, and light flashes and reflects from 4 different angles, making it impossible for our guy to avoid multiple beams. Ultimately, the beams hit him, resulting in an explosion. But due to Han's skill, Shield of Retribution, it absorbs all the damage. And now, our guy is ready to unleash all the amassed damage. It's akin to an Uno reverse attack. That's when our hero releases the damage, and the beam surges through the shield. A furious beam pierces Karen, leaving him reeling in shock. The disciple is left dumbfounded by the unexpected turn of events. As he coughs up blood, he's convinced that Han isn't a trained mage, figuring he must have been touched by God. But our guy retorts that he knows nothing about divine blessings. With a hole punctured in his body, Priest Kieran concludes that Han neither fled from his testament nor succumbed to it. Thus, he has proven his worthiness. Following this, the priest collapses, and Han absorbs the deceased disciple's body. He also extracts a power from Kieran's lifeless soul, which was more formidable than his own. Suddenly, our boy's soul is infused with the holy energy he acquires from the priest. Realizing this must be the very power the priests here utilize. Much like hunters wield magic energy, our guy feels an odd energy bubbling in his chest. But moving is a chore. He realizes it's nothing like magical energy, leaving the admin White Crane puzzled as to why Han's central energy core shines with holy energy. Meanwhile, the Lord of Iron and Blood is in a tizzy, noticing his heart shows no signs of divine presence. Moments later, Han steps into the next chamber and meets an ancient man who calls out to him, dubbing him the warrior consumed by battle's frenzy. Han, looking puzzled, inquires what that even means. The old man speaks of Han's ultimate destiny, saying he must keep charging from one victory to the next until he reaches unparalleled growth, standing atop all strength. The old man seems to have peered into Han's psyche, yet our guy thinks reaching such power is a lofty claim. Abruptly, a woman breezes past him, chiming in that it's not a boast but a truth he'll discover himself in due time. In that instant, a chill shoots through Han. How does she know what he's thinking? He spins around, brandishing his sword. The old woman calms him down, explaining this isn't a test of the body, but a test of faith. Han is overwhelmed as the woman shifts positions in a heartbeat. Baffled by such incredible speed, suddenly, he feels sheer dread, fearing his mind has been invaded. He finds himself ensnared in a void, grabbed by unseen hands while a woman gnaws at him. Intrigued by the challenge, the old woman surprises everyone by declaring Han has passed the test. Though he's utterly baffled, the old lady reassures him that he is fit to move beyond the 5th gate. Han, astonished, queries how that's even feasible. She explains that the 5th gate begins with a deep exploration of one's mind. Only those with unwavering will can catch a glimpse of their own. She admits sensing an indomitable will within Han, a thirst for violence, prepared to eliminate anyone in his path toward power. The lady detects Han's desire to grow stronger, even if it means taking lives. This darkness lurks in the corners of his subconscious. Lady Henner warns him to act quickly if he succumbs to his ambition, whether by his blade or the whims of faith. But our guy insists he has no intentions of harming her since he already cleared the test. The lady, amused, teases Han, suggesting she ought to unleash the full force of the test of faith. Seung Yun, irritated by her arrogance, readies to strike. Yet, she shifts her tone and offers him safe passage, giving him a reassuring pat. With that, our hero strides onward toward the next trial, diving into darkness as he delves deeper. Shortly after, he notices the mirrors darkening, swallowing him in complete blackness. At that very moment, a whisper tickles his ear, sending a jolt through him as he swings his sword, praying it's not the same ordeal again. To his dismay, the Holy Maiden tells Seung Yun he's already lost in the confines of his mind. She reveals that Lady Hanir cleverly planted a guiding seed to escort him further into his thoughts. Our guy realizes Eileen is talking about the old lady who had given him a friendly pat. Apparently, she sowed a seed deep in his mind. Now, it seems the Holy Maiden is nestled within Han's consciousness. He feels trapped by mysterious threads, and she assures him she's keeping a close watch over his physical form in the real world. This notion unsettles Han deeply, and Eileen informs him he's indeed stuck in a quagmire. Offended by his arrogant demeanor, the maiden suddenly points a dagger at his throat, warning Seung Yun she could easily make a quick strike. Our guy quickly finds himself humbled and apologizes, claiming he just wanted guidance on how to prove his faith. Eileen chuckles, finding it charming how swiftly he regained his manners. She continues to explain that this world is just a mirror reflecting his own emptiness. Here, player Han must learn to peer into the deepest shadows of his mind. Only then will he conquer the sixth gate. Eileen emphasizes that a sentient's mind is shaped by their core beliefs, and few are blessed with the ability to see their own mind clearly.